Okay, so it's 7 p.m. I'm now declaring the meeting open. And if we could just take a minute of silence for the passing of Prince Philip. Okay, thanks, councillors, for that. Just to inform everyone, I have invited Peggy Young-Lovelace of E4M to listen in on the meeting tonight and, if need be, answer any questions moving forward with the bylaws and so on and so forth. Welcome, Peggy. Can she hear us?
Maybe she's not on.
And Peggy may not be with us. I wonder what would this.
Kathy, do you have yourself identified as Nairn? Oh, there she is.
Okay, so we're just going to admit Peggy now. Good evening, Peggy. Looks like you're still muted.
Good evening.
Good evening. I was just explaining to council that we've invited you this evening to be available to answer any questions on the bylaws and policies that are on tonight's agenda. So we thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest?
Nope.
Delegations. Okay, moving on to item 4, discussions arising from previous council minutes. Okay, Brig, will you first the motion to accept them as presented?
Yes.
Kathy, second.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Brig, seconded by Kathy, that the following council minutes be accepted as presented. Regular council meeting minutes, March 8th, 2021. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Brig?
Yep.
Rod?
Yes.
Only yes, that's carried. The closed session meeting minutes to accept those.
Yeah, we're gonna go into closed session to accept those since I
Okay.
didn't want to send those through email.
Okay, so we'll do that after when we go into closed session, just because we didn't want to send that information out through emails. Okay, so moving on to minutes and reports. Item 6A, Township of Nairn and Hyman Community Parks and Rec Committee minutes, March 9th. B, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report, 2021-012, proposed code of conduct for members of council. Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report, 2021-013, regarding proposed council staff relations policy. D, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report, number 2021-014, regarding proposed integrity commissioner inquiry protocol policy. 6E, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report, number 2021-015, regarding update sale of surplus lands. 6F, Township of Nairn and Hyman Municipal Superintendent's Report, April 8th, 2021. And G, Township of Nairn and Hyman Fire Chief's Report, April 7th, 2021. So we have a motion just to receive these right now. Fred, will you first that?
Yes.
Thank you. Rod, second.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Fred, seconded by Rod. Be it resolved that the following minutes and reports are noted as received. Township of Nairn and Hyman Community Parks and Rec Committee minutes, March 9th, 2021. Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report, number 2021-012, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report number 2021-013, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report number 2021-014, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report number 2021-015, Township of Nairn and Hyman Superintendent's report April 8th, 2021, Township of Nairn and Hyman Fire Chief's report April 7th, 2021. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yep.
Rod?
Yes.
Yes, yes, that's carried.
Mr. Chair, can I talk on some of them?
Yeah, when if you have anything on 6A, because I think we have a motion on that, Belinda, do we not?
Oh, okay, I'll wait till the motion then for the B, C,
Okay.
and D there.
Yeah, so we'll deal with each one individually where we have motions that correspond.
Oh, okay, thank you, I'll wait.
Okay. So I spoke with Frederick a little bit about this today, giving the opportunity for the locals to place items at the end of the driveway where others can drive by and see if they have any use for it sometime before the free tipping week on the landfill site. So Fred, will you first that?
Yeah.
Kathy second?
Yes.
So moved by Fred, seconded by Kathy, whereas council notes the Township of Nairn and Hyman Community Parks and Rec Committee Resolution 2021 Rec-13, requesting the spring cleanup items be placed at the end of driveways at an earlier date for others to pick up. And whereas council has decided that for the year 2021, the spring cleanup will be replaced with a free tipping week at the landfill site. Therefore, council resolves that these types of items should not be placed at the end of driveways. Kathy, in favor? Kathy, in favor?
That was the alternate one.
Oh, the one here. Sorry about that.
So I'm a little confused.
Yeah, sorry, that was the alternate. So just bear with me 1 second. I'll just reprint it out. It seems to have gone missing.
Certainly.
Yeah, that's the one that we had just switched.
Yeah, it was just switched that one. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here.
Thank you. Okay, so this makes a little more sense with the read. So I'll get Fred, will you first again?
Yes.
Kathy second?
Yes.
Thank you. So whereas council notes the Township of Nairn and Hyman Community Parks and Rec Committee Resolution 2021 Rec-13 requesting that spring cleanup items be placed at the end of driveways at an earlier date for others to pick up. And whereas the municipality is not responsible for the pickup of these items. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Greg?
Yep.
Rod?
Yes.
And myself is a yes, that is carried. 6B. Oh, there was one more for rec here, sorry. The hanging baskets and okay. Greg, will you first this motion? It's regarding the hanging baskets that the rec committee has submitted to us. But we're looking for some clarity with a budget on that first, and that's how this resolution reads. So will you first have Greg?
Yes.
Okay. Fred second?
Yeah.
Thank you. Moved by Greg, seconded by Fred. The council notes the Township of Nairn and Hyman Community Parks and Recreation Committee Resolution 2021 Rec-14 requesting to purchase and distribute hanging baskets, potting soil, and hangers in June 2021. Whereas council is requesting that the rec committee submit a proposed budget for the activity for consideration at the May 10th council meeting. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
And myself, say yes, that's carried. That is it for that. Okay. So item 6B, Township of Nairn and Hyman CAO's report number 2021-012 regarding proposed code of conduct for members of council. Anyone have anything to say to that?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yep. Go ahead,
I
Doug.
was just wondering how did, pardon me?
No, as I said, go ahead. Doug.
I was just wondering there, how did we come to get the Wishart to do these bylaws for us? Never went through council. And I was just curious. I know Councilor Jingers mentioned that the last week meeting. She asked to see what it costs us, and she didn't get an answer from Belinda, I don't think. How much would this? How did the CEO end up with having Wishart do these bylaws, and how much would it's costing us?
Belinda, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. These were provided for us as were clients of EFRM. They were part of a package, and they were graciously provided to us. We did not pay for these.
So there was no cost. And for an example of the code of conduct, there's 10 other municipalities that have passed the exact same one. I can read them out if you like, or the list is available here. Actually, I will read them out. Township of North Shore, Municipality of Eau Claire and Maria, Municipality of Iroquois Falls, Township of O'Connor, Township of Manitouwadge, Township of McKellar, Township of Sagang, Town of Kirkland Lake, Municipality of Calvin, and Town of Smooth Rock Falls. And I'm sure Peggy could speak to if there were more than that, but that's 10 already that have passed the exact same one.
So if I might, Your Worship.
Yes, please, Peggy.
So Councillor McDonald and Councillor Gingras, yes, absolutely. EFRM saw that your bylaw that you had passed that was outlining your code of conduct was not in compliance with the new regs. And we gave to the municipality the policies you see in front of you. As well, the staff council relations policy you did not have. In March of 2019, every municipality was required to have one. And I just want to give you a bit of background of how these policies were developed. We had over 50, I want to say 52, 53 municipalities that actually participated in the drafting of those policies. So the lawyers come up with a rendition of what is compliant with the law. And we had a number of municipalities in different workshops across Northern Ontario actually look at these things and say, hey, wait a minute, this is not practical. Here's how it should work. And those documents have been modified. In addition, we've had other communities adopt it. So I know that there's over 72 municipalities in Ontario that have these policies. So one of the biggest complaints I hear communities say is that, well, you know what, we're so small, these things shouldn't apply to us. Well, it's been my experience that there's no provision of the Municipal Act that requires municipalities with populations of less than 1,000 to do their own thing. Every municipality in Ontario is required to comply with the Act. And we tried to create these policies so that they were reflective of what the Act said, but also to be something councils could work with. And happy to hear any feedback, Your Worship, if the policies are not what council was expecting. We don't normally give them away, but having had worked with your municipality on a number of levels, we really did want to give you an opportunity to have these things. If you choose not to adopt them, that's your call. That's council's prerogative. But what I wanted to say is that these are definitely something that's not just for Nairn, or Township of Nairn and Hyman. They've been adopted elsewhere.
Perfect. Thanks, Peggy. If a councillor has a question for you, would you mind if they asked directly?
Not at all, Your Worship.
Councillor McDonald, was that a satisfactory answer?
It was satisfactory what you said, but I'm not voting on them. It says at the end each one saying that we don't have to vote on it, so I will be voting against them.
Okay, and that's your program by all means. Anybody else have anything to say or ask of Peggy?
Yes, I had some questions, Mr. Chair.
Sure, go ahead, Rick.
Oh, sorry, my computer just went a bit dark there. First of all, I know that all of these bylaws, especially code of conduct, are absolutely mandatory. And there are mandatory policies and bylaws and not mandatory policies and bylaws, but this would be one that we absolutely should have. So I do agree with that. I'm glad to hear that it didn't cost us anything. I didn't hear what the total cost was of the package, so that's a different issue. I might do a notice of motion for the next meeting so we can find out those numbers, because we don't get disbursements as we used to. But as far as the bylaw goes, the code of conduct, the integrity policy, and I think the staff council one, those ones I'm all okay with. But as well as we go further, I'll have more questions. But I just did want to make a comment. At our last meeting, on the CAO's report, one of the recommendations that she had was that we submit our comments or questions in writing, and that I look back in March's meeting, and that was a recommendation. When the date came March 22nd, I didn't have notes ready. I did express my concerns and questions at the meeting, and actually I felt that my colleagues agreed with me. We were speaking about how our politics is small, our community is small, and I believe our bylaws should reflect that and not be overreaching. And so I found them very robust. That was actually the word that I used. And I found that my colleagues agreed with me. And what I'm disappointed about is that I can say my words and comments, and even though my colleagues agree with me, these bylaws are coming through verbatim as they were last month. Nothing was changed at all. And so I just wanted to express my disappointment. And moving forward, is this going to be a policy? Because it was just a recommendation last month to submit our questions and our comments. And like, we don't get paid a whole lot here. So I just feel when we come to a meeting, when I give my input, whether it's questions or comments, whatever it might be, that my words would be taken then, especially if my colleagues agree with me, and that would be acted upon. So I just wanted to express that. When we move forward to the other bylaws, I think E4M had another item on the agenda, and I'll speak to the next item. But it's good to know, though, that nothing was paid for this, but I would like to know the entire package amount cost so that we can know what this is costing.
And that's something we can deal with at the next meeting. Yes.
Worship?
Sorry?
Yes, Maggie, go ahead.
If your worship, if I could answer this, I'd like to tell council that this normally would cost a municipality about $1,800 to buy it after the fact. Had your municipality participated up front when we were drafting these documents, it would have cost less than $600. And back in that time frame, your municipality was invited to be part of it. So the other thing I want to talk about is the fact that if I understand what Councillor Gingras is saying is that she made comments at the last meeting and it didn't get incorporated into the document. Unfortunately, the way that needs to happen is council actually, if they agree with her, needs to pass a resolution. Tell the CAO what you want done differently, what needs to be revised, changed, etc. So E4M has given these documents to your community. You can choose to do what you want or not do with them. That's not up to us. If you choose to adopt them, great. If you don't, that's your prerogative. Otherwise, you need to write what you want to do. And council has that prerogative and can direct the CAO clerk to do this and come up with something that fits your council. Having said that, Your Worship, one of the things that has been my experience in working with communities is that you cannot go to a council meeting and expect everything to happen at council. If you want changes to policies, if you want things, everyone typically gives feedback to the CAO, the clerk, whoever your senior manager is, to actually incorporate those into your documents. And happy to hear feedback about what doesn't work for a small community, because the smallest community, I think, that has adopted this as a population of less than 200 people, right up to communities with a population of 5,000. And if it's not working or it doesn't make sense, happy to understand why, because I think that our products become better as councils work with them and we can actually come up with something. One of the things I do wish to leave council with is the fact that you are required under the Act to have these documents in place, not the IC protocol, but to have a code of conduct, which you do. It's out of date and it's non-compliant with the Act, and to have a staff council relations policy, which you do not have. And that came into effect in March of 2019. So it's not like this happened today. Council's been out of compliance for a while, and I think it's something you should focus on. Council can always choose to not follow the law. But if you're going to do that, you need to pass a resolution. And I'm actually happy to help draft a code of conduct that says we're not going to follow the Municipal Act. We're going to do what we want to do, and here's what we're going to do. As long as you're accountable and transparent to the public, I actually don't care what it says. You just need to have a policy that says what you're going to do, and you have to be accountable and transparent to your public. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thanks, Peggy.
Mr. Chair, if I can just rebuttal that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't indicate that we didn't need this. I actually said, Peggy, that we do need this and that these are mandatory. So I wasn't, if you were responding specifically to me, I never at any point said that we didn't need these. I know these are mandatory. I know that. And I know that the council staff is mandatory. So if you were speaking to me, that was incorrect. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Greg, can you maybe identify anything in any of these bylaws? Because I listened to the meeting and the only thing I took from that was your comment that they were robust. There was no individual items that you disputed. There was nothing.
Correct.
There was nothing received in writing as to changes that should be made, other than you thought they were lengthy. But as you've heard this evening, several other municipalities have passed them as is. I've read them top to bottom on a few different times now, and I personally think that that they make total sense and are very well worded.
Yes, I believe they make sense, and you're correct. I didn't make any indication to specific changes. Correct.
Okay, so I think we can move on from there. Does anyone else have anything on the items from up to item D, so B, C, or D?
No, all I was concerned about, Laurie, is that over the years, we did a council, we had meetings with the clerk, and we discussed these things, you know, page by page, item, line by line, and that, and we decided that how to bring another company in that to do this for us. I just not for it. I don't think, you know, if we sat down and then pick things out that we would need and what we don't need. I don't mean we're going to break the law, but you know, but I mean, I just think that this town is capable enough to look after our own business. We don't need that other people to tell us what to do. Thank you. I'm done.
I'm not going to respond to that. We don't have the legal capabilities to do that. The laws have changed over the years, Councillor, and we need to be with the times. These bylaws reflect what we need to be doing during our current roles as councillors and mayors. So
all I understand, these bylaws handcuff councillors, especially me, that we can't express ourselves. It gives you all the power to stop us, to put us out of the meeting. It's not fair that I can't go to a meeting worrying about getting cut off or thrown out of the meeting. And you threatened to throw me out a few times, and that's what I think that we should be doing this on our own and working our problems out on our own. We don't need help to tell us how to. I know how to behave. I'm a respectful person, and I like to be treated the same way. And I'll treat you the same way when I get respect. I'll respect you. Thank you.
We're not going to get into that. We've just gone through a lengthy investigation that has shown otherwise. So we're going to move on.
We had a lengthy investigation. I'd like to know what it costs. So
Okay,
far, we
Councillor,
haven't
that's
paid,
going to be on the next agenda. Brig has already requested that, so we'll deal with that at the next council meeting. So now we're going to move
Okay.
forward.
Your worship,
Okay, we move
if I
forward.
might,
Peggy, go ahead.
if I might, Councillor McDonald, the authority of the chair of a meeting, whether it's the mayor or someone else in his or her stead, to evict a member of council from a meeting has nothing to do with the code of conduct or the IC protocol or the staff council policy. It has to do with the procedure bylaw. You are required to follow the rules of meetings and meeting protocols. And yeah, you know what? Back 3 years ago, you could do whatever you wanted. Today's a new day. The rules have changed. The laws have become robust and very strict. And I don't know if council has seen, but even AMO is looking at how to perfect the IC rule and make things more stringent. And there was another bill that I saw recently about how do we limit harassment that councils are doing to staff. And these are things that you're dealing with now. You didn't get to deal with years ago. And sorry, your worship, but I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute because I actually believe in the municipal sector more than anyone can imagine. I think change happens here. I don't think change happens in provincial or federal government as easily. And what I do believe in is how people can come together. And so I hear what Councillor McDonald is saying about how council should solve their own problems. Well, unfortunately, the level of government you don't get to solve your own problems. You can solve them when they're within your jurisdiction. Right now, the province of Ontario has said, here's the rules you have to abide by. And council can choose to not follow them. If you do that, you lose your protection under the Municipal Act. You are going to be subject to personal liability, which I would not recommend to council. And I'm actually happy to say, and I have gone to councils and said, if you want to micromanage the operation, put it in your policy and tell me who's going to show up on Monday to tell staff what to do. And council can agree to that. But you need to know if you're going to do these things, that it's outside your role, it's against the rules, and you could be personally held liable. And that's why when we looked at the code of conduct and the staff council relations policy, as well as the IC protocol, we really geared it to small communities. So these documents weren't put in to punish councils. They were documents to help guide how you can do things and do things to be successful in your community. And that's where I think council really needs to think about these are not punitive. They're telling your ratepayers how you're going to behave. And when I have done training with councils, one of the things I talk about the code of conduct is it's your promise to your taxpayers about how you're going to behave in the sandbox. It's about how you're going to actually treat each other, treat your staff, and work together for what's in the best interest of your community. And I think that's an important message for council to understand. So this is not punitive. It's about expressing to your taxpayers how you will behave so that you can move the objectives of the municipality forward. Sorry, your worship. Thanks for allowing me my soapbox.
That's great. We did have a La Cloche Foothills meeting this morning, Peggy, and I believe, is it Bill 260 that you were talking about that's gone through its first reading?
Correct.
Yeah, so things are going to get a lot stricter if this gets passed, where the possibility of having a member of council that continually breaches code of conduct, for example, can actually be removed from their seat. This is being discussed across the province, and we are sending a letter of support to AMO for that through the La Cloche Foothills Municipal Association.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead. Ken.
I just want to ask Peggy if I might, if she could clarify what the IC stands for, the rules, the protocol.
Integrity Commissioner, correct?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we can move forward on these motions now. Fred, can I get a first from you? This is about the code of conduct.
Yeah.
Kathy, second.
Yes.
You moved by Fred, seconded by Kathy. Resolved that CAO's report 2021-012 dated April 5th, 2021 be received for information, and that council approves the new code of conduct for members of council policy, and further that the CAO and mayor are authorized to enact bylaw to adopt the code of conduct policy. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
bring it up.
Yes.
Rod,
No.
and myself's in favor. That's carried. This is the council staff relations. Brig, will you first this?
Yes.
You, Kathy, second.
Yes.
You, moved by Brig, seconded by Kathy. Be it resolved that the CAO's report 2021-013 dated April 6, 2021 be received for information. That council approves the new council staff relations policy, and further that the CAO and mayor are authorized to enact the bylaw to adopt council staff relation policies. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
Brig,
Yep.
Rod,
No.
and I'm a yes, that's carried. Okay, this is about the Integrity Commissioner Inquiry Protocol. Kathy, will you first that?
Yes.
Fred, second.
Yes.
You, moved by Kathy, seconded by Fred. Resolved the council received the CAO's report 2021-014 dated April 7th, 2021 for information purposes, and the council approves the new Integrity Commissioner Inquiry Protocol policy, and further that CAO and mayor are authorized to enact the bylaw to adopt the Integrity Commissioner Inquiry policy. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Rod,
No.
I'm in favor, that's carried. Okay. Okay, this one, superintendent's report. Do we have anything from Richard? Okay, so Fred, can we get a first on this? This is just moving for the free tipping fees.
Yeah.
Kathy, second.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Fred, seconded by Kathy, whereas council agrees with the municipal superintendent's recommendation. The current year spring cleanup week will be replaced with free tipping at the landfill site for the designated dates. And therefore council has declared that for the dates of May 26th, May 29th, and May 30th, all tipping fees shall be waived. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
So yes, that's carried. This is about the grant and the amount of 4,600 for the fire department. Brig, will you first this?
Sorry, what was that for? Sorry, Mr. Chair.
For the fire chief's report to be received for information, the council will accept the fire safety
Oh,
grant.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Fred, second.
Yes.
Thanks. Moved by Greg, seconded by Fred. Resolved that the fire chief's report dated April 7th, 2021 be received for information. And further, the council accepts the fire safety grant program allocation of 4,600 to support increased training opportunities and the submitted strategy for utilization. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
you, Rod?
Yes.
So yes, that's carried. Okay, just noting them as being received under correspondences. And then we can get into detail with those. Fred, will you first that?
Yes.
Rod, second.
Yes.
By Brad, seconded by Rod. Be it resolved, the correspondence is 7A D be noted as being received. Kathy in favor.
Yes.
Frederick,
Yes.
Greg,
Yep.
Rod,
Yes.
myself say yes, that's carried. I'm glad Peggy's still on the line with us. We do have a motion on this, and I'm glad that you are getting more municipalities to come together and share the costs on this, Peggy. So I have a motion before us. I'll just kind of, we'll have to discuss an amount on this, but basically what it reads is that council will agree to expertise for municipalities proposal to provide the noted human resource policies, provided that several municipalities commit to participating and the project cost is reduced to a certain amount or under. And that's what I wanted to discuss with you. I think, Peggy, you were speaking with Belinda today, and our portion would have been around 8,000. I'm expecting you're going to get more municipalities involved. Is that correct?
So thank you, Your Worship. Yes, absolutely. We're looking at spreading the cost over 10 municipalities. And these policies, because they are largely similar across community, will also be tailored to your community. And I am hoping to get 10. We are now at 5. I have 3 more councils discussing this tonight and tomorrow night. So I may have better news. If council's wanting to be part of this, I do expect we'll get down to where the cost will be the 10.
Okay, so which would be approximately 3,500 per community.
Exactly. And quite honestly, Your Worship, you can't even hire a lawyer to review 2 policies for that amount of money.
Oh, of course. And that was a lot of policies and would save our office staff a whole lot of time and money, obviously, because they do get paid by the hour. I think it's a great idea, and hopefully you do get it. I'm fine with putting an amount of $4,000 or under on this, and we can move forward with it, but I wanted feedback from council. Brad, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was worried a little bit when I saw the other numbers of cost. And I was going to maybe suggest that we push it to budget time, but if it is, yeah, I would agree if it was lower. But my only question is, it is quite an extensive list of policies that we would be getting. I'm just wondering how much of this we already have, or how much we already need, or how much of it needs to be updated, like we saw in the last ones. That was just kind of my first reactions of, do we really need this? If we already have most of it in place, but whether it needs updating, that's a different story as well. So I was a little bit worried about the cost at first, but if we can get it down lower, I'd be on board. Yeah.
Thank you. Bring it up. Your thoughts?
Yes, this is, again, way too robust for me. There's quite a lot of items here. And again, like I mentioned earlier, they're not all mandatory. And I'd like us to go through possibly with a fine tooth comb. Some of them we already have. Some of them aren't necessary. And so I'd like us to start there. I have another concern. I had a question. First of all, I was wondering if any of our La Cloche communities, the 3 that we sit with, are part of this, because I would like them to. If they're not, I would like to do things together with them if they're working on policies. I'm not in favor of putting out the money before, of course, we see exactly what it is. And the amount of money, of course, was like way too high without the other communities. But again, I'd like to know if our La Cloche are there. One concern I have, and I don't know if this is a real concern, but this is how I feel. We have E4M as our integrity commissioner, and I just find that we're blurring the lines using the same organization to do our policies. Now our integrity commissioner will be working, almost daily to develop these bylaws with our staff, and that doesn't seem neutral to me. An integrity commissioner should be neutral when they're doing their investigations, and if you're working with our staff every day, I don't find you any more neutral, and I think it's blurring the lines there. when it was up at $30,000 for, if we were just doing it on our own. Of course, 3,000 is much better. We do have, policies regarding procurement, and we should follow those. So if it's going to go over a certain amount, then we should be doing tenders for this. And I'd like to look at other companies and other consultants to see what they would charge us. Just for the record, if we're going to spend money and join this, I'd like to see what other companies can offer us. And of course, the 30,000 was way too much. And I just find, we should be spending 30,000 more on servicing our taxpayers or infrastructure. My other question was, sorry, I'm asking all these questions. Our CAO historically did develop policy, and I'm just wondering if there'll be any degree that our CAO will perform some degree of policy development with this. That was a question. And also, we have our deputy clerk. We have another staffer that can help with this. And I also wanted to mention that in our superintendent's report, he actually mentioned at the end of his report that he's more than willing, has already started assisting in a new policy for the heavy truck route by calling another municipality to see what they do and what policies they have. So, we have workers here. We do have resources, and I think if we can put all of our staff together, depending on what the policies are for heavy truck routes, absolutely, our superintendent can assist. He already is. He's called another community. So those are my questions and concerns. Today, I would not be in favor of accepting this as is. For one, we don't know if anyone else is involved, and I'd like to see some of our La Cloche communities in there because we sit with La Cloche. We're a group already. Like if we're purchasing things in bulk, even if it is bylaws and policies, then I'd like to do it with our neighboring communities. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Peggy. Would you like to speak to that? I'm not sure who you have on board already.
And thank you, Your Worship. So first of all, I'd like to say that, yeah, absolutely, staff can write these policies. But if you have them now, they may or may not be compliant. And you cannot even get a lawyer to look at them. So my experience, having worked in a municipal office, is that we beg, borrow, and steal policies from everywhere. And then all of a sudden we get challenged on them and we cannot enforce them. And that's because we've taken language from this policy or that policy and tried to make it legal. So E4M's goal is to empower excellence in the municipal sector. And there is nothing that requires us to only provide IC services or only provide this service. And the Integrity Commissioner in some municipalities is a paid employee. So how can you be a paid employee and participate in council meetings and do other things and still not be biased? The way you do that is because your role requires you to not be biased. Just because we help municipalities do policies does not mean we are biased when it comes to an investigation. The other thing that I would suggest is that Peggy, as a person, doesn't always do the investigation. Isn't always involved in the whole process of investigations, nor am I involved in every policy that's developed through E4M. But what I can tell council is that no, right now, none of the La Cloche Foothills municipalities are involved in this. And that La Cloche Foothills is way small. You have the town of Espanola, you have Baldwin, you have Sable Spanish, and Nairn. Those are your communities in the La Cloche Foothills. What we do have is we have a number of municipalities, and Your Worship, I'm not prepared to actually tell you the names of them, but what I can tell you is fine. 5. And that reduces the cost. If council decides that they're willing to commit, then I will tell you who's involved. At this point in time, I can tell you that the smallest community that we have has a population of less than 300, and the biggest community that we have is about 3,500, bit more. So we have a variety of sizes, and why these policies are there is because the lawyer, when I asked the lawyers, I said, okay, so if you are working in a human resource capacity in a small community, what policies do you have to have? What are you required by law to have? What makes the most sense? And those are the policies. 38 policies we have listed are those policies. I have reviewed another community, and you can look at Prince Township online. They have their HR policies out there. It's 100 and some pages long. And they have policies that are way too restrictive. They have policies that are not necessarily, they had an outside HR person do them. And this person was not familiar with the municipal sector. And that is a bit of a problem because you have someone comes in and says, hey, here's the policy. And one of the things I chuckled at when I saw they have a snow day policy. So if you have a snow policy in your municipality that says, well, you know, if you can't get to work because the snow is too deep in your driveway, the employer will pay you for your day off. And I think, okay, how does that apply to public works? They're the ones who are supposed to be out there plowing your snow. So they have to be able to get to work. They can't just say there's too much snow in my driveway, I don't get to come to work. And that's why I know that there are policies out there that have to be modified to actually fit how municipalities work. And so I agree with Councillor McDonald when he said about that, you know, we always got together and talked about these things and developed it ourselves. And that's great. The problem is, even if you are a lawyer sitting on council, you don't get to bring that role to the table. You don't get to bring your insurance as a lawyer to protect the municipality. The municipality has to do that on their own. And if all we've done by telling you about these policies, Your Worship, is to highlight that you have to look at them, bring them up to date, great. We are moving ahead with this, and we have 5 municipalities right now that are actually excited and willing to move forward. I'm not worried about whether or not you choose to. It's just an offer out there. If you want to be part of it, great. If you don't, council can do what council wishes to do.
Thanks, Peggy. And what really strikes me is the amount of time for staff to have to write 38 policies when we could be looking at spending not a whole lot of money to have these in place. Now, that being said, we don't have to accept any single one of them. Each one has to go before council, and we can dispute what they're saying. But this is a whole lot of work that is saving our staff to have this information provided, in my opinion. Kathy, I wanted to hear from you as well.
My one question would be to Peggy to find out what would be our deadline. Like, if we're saying we're going to wait for the 10 people and then we'll jump on the bandwagon, or the 10 communities, like, how long do we have before we can make this decision?
Peggy, go ahead.
So, Your Worship, if I get to 10 and you're not one of them, will I throw you out? Yes. And I'll tell you why. Normally I would not do that, but 10 is a lot of work, and I wrestled with the number, but I knew small communities cannot afford more. And just because there's a lot of work that has to be done, you are looking at the fact that your employees will have to participate as well. So what I would tell you with that is that you probably have until the end of April to say yes or no. If you're not one of the 10, and what I'll tell you, I have a municipality that has said, okay, so if you get down to where we're number 10, we're in. If you want to say the same thing, and knowing that that's the rate you want to spend, or whatever your price tag is, I'm happy to include that. But when I get to 10, I'm not allowing any more in. It's just way more work than what we can manage.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peggy. Rod, did you have anything to say to this?
Well, no, I don't. I think I said enough. But you know, to me, with this buyers here now, and throwing all this at once, it's just too much for me anyway. If we were sitting in the council chambers discussing this over the table, face to face, well, I can understand it. I can understand it better. It's just too much at once, I think, for a small community. And I like to be able to correspond with the taxpayers of this community before I make decisions. And I'd be voting against this too. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rod. And like Peggy said, we can commit to a certain amount. To me, this is worth a heck of a lot more than $4,000. Each single one of those policies have to be voted on by council. At that time, we can sit at the table and say, yes, we agree with this, or no, we don't agree with this. Let's change it to this. We're not agreeing to adopt anything here other than to review what E4M has to present to us. So I'm going to propose, and I'll read the motion. The council will agree to expertise from municipalities' proposal to provide the noted human resource policies, provided that several municipalities commit to participating and the cost is reduced to $4,000 or under. And that's for us, and that's something that we can budget for at this time. As Peggy mentioned, we've only got a couple of weeks, and we may lose this opportunity, and we're not going to find this deal anywhere else, in my opinion. Right? Can I get a first on that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Kathy, a second.
Yes.
Moved by Fred, seconded by Kathy. I'm just writing in the amount initially in here. The council will agree to expertise for municipalities' proposal to provide the noted human resource policies, provided that several municipalities commit to participating and the project cost is reduced to $4,000 or under. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I just have one last thing.
Sure.
So if we do the 4,000, I'm just looking at the list here. Nine communities would mean 3,900 plus tax, and then 10 would be probably within range. So are we agreeing to say 9, that we're going to do it with 9 and 10, or we're going right to the 10? I was just a little bit confused on that.
Yeah, it doesn't, so long as our cost is $4,000 before tax, I'm fine with that. And I just actually added that $4,000 or under before tax.
Okay, yeah, agree.
Okay, so you're in favor then?
Yeah.
Thank you. Greg?
No.
Okay, Rod?
No.
Okay, I am. That's carried. Item 7B, Amy Mazie, Chair of the Township Nairn and Hyman Rec Committee regarding community garage sale, March 9th, 2021. So obviously with the new state of emergency in the province, it's not something that would be able to go forward. Rod, would you first this?
Yes.
Greg second? Was that yes, Greg? Can you hear us, Greg?
Sorry?
Oh, I had asked if you would second this motion.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, moved by Rod, seconded by Greg. Whereas correspondence from Amy Mazie has been received requesting council's approval for a community date for garage sales, and whereas the province of Ontario is currently in a declared state of emergency and under a stay-at-home order, therefore council does not endorse a community-wide garage sale date until the above orders are lifted. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Oh, sorry, Rod.
Yes.
Thanks. That's carried. So the Anglican cemetery issue, I think that we need some more information on this first, probably from Weaver Simmons. Excuse me, to see what our liability would be moving forward with this. So that's basically what this motion says. Fred, will you first it?
Yeah.
Greg second?
Yes.
Moved by Frederick, seconded by Greg, that correspondence received from the Diocese of Algoma is noted as received, and council wishes to review this matter further before decision is made on the proposed transfer of the Anglican cemetery property to the township. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Self yes, that's carried. Okay, Household Hazardous Waste Day scheduled for May 1st. Rod, will you first this?
Yes.
Kathy second?
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Rod, seconded by Kathy. The council agrees to participate in the Household Hazardous Waste Day scheduled for May 1st, 2021. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yep.
Rod?
Yes.
So that's, yes, that's carried. Okay, moving on to motions. This one is from the Township of Hudson. Fred, I think we've all read these motions, right? It was available on the package. Yeah. Fred, will you first this?
Yes.
Rod second?
Yes.
Moved by Fred, seconded by Rod. Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman endorses and supports the resolution of the Township of Hudson requesting that the federal and provincial governments include apparatuses, training, equipment, and structures for fire departments as eligible categories to any further infrastructure programs. And a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, Minister of Infrastructure, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, local member of Parliament, local member of Provincial Parliament, the Ontario Fire Marshal, the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs, and Township of Hudson. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
So yes, that's carried. So Town of Caledon regarding support for 988, a three-digit suicide and crisis prevention hotline. Rod, will you first this?
Yes.
Greg second?
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Rod, seconded by Greg, that the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman endorse and supports the resolution of the Town of Caledon endorsing the federal government's motion to adopt 988, a national three-digit suicide and crisis hotline. Copy of this motion be sent to the Federal Minister of Health, the local member of Parliament, local member of Provincial Parliament, and the Town of Caledon. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
You, Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
So yes, that's carried. City of Sarnia regarding color-coded capacity limits. Fred, will you give us a first on this?
Yes.
Thanks. Greg, a second.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Fred, seconded by Brigg, that the Corporation and Township of Nairn and Hyman endorse and supports the resolution of the City of Sarnia advocating the province of Ontario to adjust the capacity limits for dining, restaurants, sporting and recreational facilities, places of worship, event centers, and all retail small businesses as part of the color-coded system, as these businesses and organizations have heavily invested in facility improvements to ensure safe social distancing and that all appropriate safety measures are in place. Further, that a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the local member of Parliament, the local member of Provincial Parliament, and the City of Sarnia. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Yes, that's carried. 8D, Township of South Glengarry regarding increase to province's vaccination rates. Greg, will you first this? Greg, will you first?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Mr. Chair. My phone just, I had to plug it in. I was going to say, if I get cut off, I just plug my phone in. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Fred, second.
Yes.
Moved by Brigg, seconded by Frederick, that the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman endorse and supports the resolution of the Township of South Glengarry urging the province of Ontario to produce approved COVID-19 vaccines and to increase the province's vaccination rate. Further, that a copy of this motion be sent to the Premier of Ontario, Minister of Health, Minister of Finance, and the Township of South Glengarry. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
And yes, it's carried. Okay, moving on to bylaws. In a bylaw of the Corporation Township of Nairn and Hyman to enter into an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Office of the Fire Marshal. Fred, will you first this?
Yes.
Kathy, second.
Yes.
You. Moved by Fred, seconded by Kathy, being a bylaw of the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman to enter into an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Office of the Fire Marshal and the Corporation of the Township of Nairn and Hyman. You read a first, second, and third time and passed in open council. Its number shall be 2021-7. Kathy, in favor?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
I'll see yes, that's carried. Okay, Committee of Adjustment, which we typically do annually. We're just getting around to it now. Rod, will you first this?
Yes.
Kathy, second.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Rod, seconded by Kathy. Being a bylaw to appoint a Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Nairn and Hyman, be read a first, second, and third time, passed in open council, and its number shall be 2021-8. Kathy in favor?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
So I'll see yes, that's carried. Conduct bylaws next. Fred, will you first this?
Yes.
Kathy second.
Yes.
Moved by Fred, seconded by Kathy. Being a bylaw to adopt the code of conduct policy for members of council, be read a first, second, and third time. Passed in open council, and its number shall be 2021-9. Kathy in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
No.
And I'm yes, that's carried. Okay, so this is the council staff relations bylaw. Kathy, will you first this?
Yes.
Greg second.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Kathy, seconded by Greg, being a bylaw to adopt the council staff relations policy. Read a first, second, and third time, passed in open council. Its number shall be 2021-10. Kathy in favor?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
No.
And I'm a yes, that's carried. Yeah, okay, next one, the Integrity Commissioner's Protocol Policy. Fred, will you first this?
Yes.
Greg second.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Fred, seconded by Greg. Being a bylaw to adopt the Integrity Commissioner Protocol Policy, be read a first, second, and third time. Passed in open council. Its number shall be 2021-11. Kathy in favor?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
No.
And I'm a yes, that's carried. Item 10A, off of the Office of the Solicitor General, Ontario Provincial Police Detachment Boards. Just noted this is being received. Fred, will you first that?
Yes.
Kathy second.
Yes.
Thank you. Moved by Fred, seconded by Kathy. Resolved that for information only, item 10A be noted as received. In favor, Kathy?
Yes.
Frederick?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Rod?
Yes.
Yes, that's carried. Okay, so it is. What time do you have? And to move into closed session, Greg, will you first this?
Yes.
Kathy second.
Yes.
Thank you. Before I read this, Peggy, I think that's probably all that may come up for you, and we do have to go into closed session at this point. So I just want to thank you for attending this evening, and I mean, you're welcome to stick around, but we'll have to kind of give you that food for a minute or two.
So thank you, Your Worship. Everyone, have a great evening. Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Thank you very much, Peggy.
Thank you.
So we're just going to be a minute here to stop.